Nowadays, especially in 2021, kids have all kinds of devices. They're plugged into their social media, to their online gaming, or whatever it is, and there's just so many things distracting them. Our mission is reaching kids for Christ through camping. Camp is a chance for them to get out of the norm, get up into nature, and have a place where they can engage God without a lot of distraction, just really focus on Him. We're all about reaching kids for Christ through camping. The number one way we do that is through a traditional summer camp experience. We also have a 6th grade camp experience that's science-based and focused on Jesus. And we also do outdoor education and weekend camping for groups like churches, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, things like that.
What? I have banana in my hair. I know you live in Indian Hills.
We strive to be somewhere where they can get away from the world, whether it's for a week summer camp or a weekend, and they can come away from the distractions and they can hear from God, because oftentimes we are too busy or too distracted to listen. We want this to be a place where they can come and do that. Kids that will come to know that Jesus at a young age.
I grew up in a Christian home, came to the Lord at age 5, and church was a part of life. But coming to camp and having a place where I got to just engage God, my relationship with the Lord became a little more personal here at camp. Awesome. Everyone should go or send their kids.
Like I said, my name is Evan. You've also met my beautiful wife and my 2 kids. My official title, Indian Hills Camp, is the Assistant Program Director. It's a fancy way of saying I do just about everything in some capacity. So I was hired on to do a lot of the program development for summer camps and for 6th grade camps. But I've done everything from dress up like a cowboy and sing songs and clean toilets and kind of anything that needs to be done in that way. The camp ministry, like it says up there, is a very, very unique opportunity to reach kids in a way that very few ministries can. So specific to us, Indian Hills Camp was started in 1959 by 2 school teachers. They were both widows who felt the need to get kids away from distractions of the day so that they could still be kids. In their time, it was more that kids did a lot of work rather than school or being kids. Nowadays, they're mostly distracted by expensive electronic equipment and the internet, so it's same problem but a different issue in that way. So we've been operating since 1960 out of the current place that we're in, and it's been a challenge in some cases due to finances, due to cultural implications, but the Lord has allowed us to continue to survive solely because we're reaching kids for Jesus in a way that not very many ministries can. So for us, what we definitely look forward to is summer. We just finished our summer camp season, and after post-COVID year, and we had a change in management, it's been 4 years since we had anything. And so starting up again has allowed us to be able to stick to what the Lord has given to us as a foundation for camping in that way, and all of the elements of the program that we think work the best as ministry. And so our two main summer camps, our elementary camps, are for kids that are grade 5 and younger. Typically second grade is where we like to start, because a 6-year-old spending a week at camp sounds kind of daunting. But like a 7-year-old, it's, oh, okay, well, that's okay. You know. And we do get all kinds of parents. We had a helicopter parent this last week that sent, I think there were 4 emails that we would give to her son per day. And then there were others that probably had a boot mark on their back as their parents, you know. They're like, okay, can we drop them out? Well, do you want to check out the camp? No, it's cool. And, you know, in a cloud of dust, they disappear for a week. But it's a unique environment because they're completely separated from the traditional things that they would be connected to. So there is no internet, there are no video games. There's essentially the only technology that we have that they would access is a projector screen, and we only use it to show camp songs and a couple of videos that we would do. So in essence, they're kind of separated from things for a little less than a week. And what it allows is both their mindset to be completely different because it's not home, but it also allows our staff to essentially work. Usually the ratio is around every 5 kids to 1 has someone that is interacting with them constantly. So there's 2 counselors for every cabin that we have is about 10 kids, but we also have additional support staff, and they're constantly being fed into, they're constantly being encouraged and paid attention to. And for, I'd probably say a good half of the kids, it's the first time that somebody has taken a genuine interest continuously in what they're doing and their well-being and who they are. And some of the kids really take to it. And then there's the unique result that ends up becoming of that is this highly emotional experience can then be understood in the context of either meeting Jesus for the first time or going deeper as a result of that. Like, we understand that we're kind of the mountaintop, we're the, you know, gasoline on the fire, as it were, and can't burn that way forever. But our unique position allows us to encourage people in ways that you can't typically do weekly at a youth camp or at a youth group or in any other kind of service type ministry. So it's a unique way to reach them. We also have something I couldn't highlight on the video. Our main model of working a lot of camp is 50-50. So 50% of it goes into developing programs and structures and logistics that work well for the kids to reach them for Jesus. The other 50% is feeding into the staff that we have. And so specifically for our summer staff, we have, this last year we had about 20, but at our height we had between 40 and 50 high school students that volunteer their summer. Previously, this is the first year we've done it, but previously they actually pay money to be a part of it. So it's like going to summer camp, and we call it a summer missions trip. You know, it's a service and missions trip. So we have a reason that you're paying to be there, even though, you know, one of the things that we have them do are work projects around camp, which there's a continuous amount. So it's things like digging post holes and irrigation ditches, and we also have our kitchen staff that gets their support while doing it. I'm in charge of our animal farmyard, and so it's teaching them how to work with animals. And some of them are from the area, so they know how to do it, but it's the first time somebody's held them accountable to their work a lot of the times. So we'll have 15-year-olds that this is the first real day of work that they've had in their entire lives. And it's, oh, that's not as easy as I thought it was, you know, but it creates an environment that's a really interesting bond from having a highly emotional, highly physical, highly contained ministry situation. There are people who have made friends there that will last for the rest of their lives to continue encouraging them on Christ. And then our college staff act kind of as interns. So they are typically the counselors for the kids that arrive, as well as the support for a lot of the guest counselors that we get from churches that come in. And so their unique place in the opportunity is they're old enough to be able to understand how to get out of trouble, I think is the way that I would put it. But they have the ability to to take that experience and give it in a unique way to the kids. And a lot of them, it's their experience in ministry for being able to leverage this forward. We've had some of our college students go on to being youth pastors or pastors of churches proper. And it's a good challenge to us on the staff as well, because a lot of them are very, very erudite kids who know exactly what they're doing moving into adulthood. And that's a little daunting on our side, because this guy knows more about what he wants to do than I do, you know? But this year presented that unique opportunity in that way, and summer camp itself is one that, as of right now, it's kind of our lost leader. Like, we probably bring in the most attention, but we don't really make any money from it. And so it's a unique ministry that almost everything we do during the year is in an effort to support that, because that's the one that people typically remember us for. But beneficially, we've been able to operate since 1960 because we have a variety of ministries that we take part in. So one of the things that we typically do during the school year, again, last year was a little touch and go. We were able to do kind of a modified version this year, but we have a 6th grade camp. And so these are kids who are 6th grade, typically 10 to 11 years old, some almost 12, who get to essentially do science camp, but it's in a context that exemplifies Jesus. And so we discuss the challenges of what that would be, but also biology and some chemistry, some earth sciences, climate science, things like that, that have an emphasis on the creation factor of who God is. And so the benefit of that is, again, the camp experience by separating them, but it's still school outside of camp. A couple of reports I were reading said that in order for kids to learn something new, the context being different exemplifies that in a higher way. Kids will tend to remember things consistently a lot longer as a result of being in a place like camp that challenges senses, that challenges their understanding, that allows them to kinesthetically learn, and it's learned for longer. I've also learned that there's a psychological process behind it that it actually heals, that kids with severe ADHD, personality disorders, things that they genuinely can't control in their mind, are balanced out a lot by camp. That in conjunction with medication for some, it's a solution that allows them to connect better with their peers. It allows them to understand how to focus better, and that learning is not something that just occurs inside of a small box that has a bell, but also outside and continuously. And you guys have been to school, you know that prospect of helping kids learn how to think and process things is way more important than trying to remember things. And so 6th grade camp is really close to my heart in that way, because it's an educational side, but it's not disguised, but it's kind of like, it's educational with Jesus, you know? So we did have a school district that we were working with. They brought their special ed program. We did have to have a slightly modified program as a result of that, but it isn't something that we would change. A lot of it was more about the timing and logistics of it and making sure they had the right amount of people. And the emphasis on that one was just asking good questions to kids, and they would usually come up with the answers of, well, God said that, or, you know, we're not necessarily preaching at public school kids, but allowing them to preach back to us, which, again, cements stuff that they should already know, if that makes sense. And then we have 6th grade camps, or the big one throughout the year that we like to prepare the most for. And then consistently we have our weekend opportunities. So groups, large groups, small groups, we even had it down to family camping, which since COVID is kind of, you know, calming down, we might be able to accept larger groups. And that was typically our main thing, was we were accepting churches, typically 20 or larger for a group. But it wasn't limited to churches. It was pretty much anybody that wanted to come that was willing to kind of sign off on the rules and regulations that we have. All kinds of weird connections that have come from that. Hyper charismatic churches that use our pool as a baptism, and it's kind of like baptism mixed with pro wrestling. It was really weird. Like, there was a lot of dunking. And then we have I think we had a Mennonite group there at one point. I don't think we heard anything from them the whole weekend. It was just silent, you know. The YMCA also represents a very strategic influence, because if you guys have ever been to a YMCA, the C is not super strong in California. So the Christian side of it is a difficult thing to bring up to people. And in San Diego, they like to be very accepting of any kind of lifestyle and supportive. And so it makes it difficult to want to understand it as the YMCA, you know, the Young Men's Christian Athletics Association. So we're able to get to people that normally we would not. That even comes down to, we have in October, finally, after a couple of years, Naval Special Warfare is actually coming out to do morale activities there. So we'll have 600 naval intelligence and high-level operators working there. It's a large group that, again, like, we would not have access to if we tried individually. And so every step of the way, what Jesus is showing us is, by allowing this openness and by continuing to make proper connections with people through evangelizing the gospel, they're coming to us. So we don't have to try and figure out a way to get into, you know, the chaplain so that we can minister to naval operators. Like, they'll come to us. We don't have to try and figure out how can we get back into the schools if Jesus was there at all. They're coming to us. And so that, mixed with the reality that as of right now, from a lot of our polls, by the time you get to 13 or 14, whatever you believe is going to be what you believe until you die, generally speaking. There's very little room where that's different. And so if we can reach them with the gospel beforehand, there is a much higher likelihood of them making a decision for Jesus. As you can see, it's 85%. And worldwide, the mission is still immensely large for kids under the age of 14. I think right now it's about 60% of the world total is kids under 14. And so it's a demographic that's not going away. It's probably going to be bigger, and it's going to be more challenging as the culture continues to change. But camp allows us a chance to not have to alter that too much, because people, you know, when you think of camp, people have an expectation of camp. And we like to say that ours is rustic, which is a fancy word for broken. But, you know, we don't have a lot of the things that would make a kids camp, you know, technologically fun. But when you strip it all away, there's very little things that you need in order to have fun. And being able to reach them in that, and invest in them truly, and challenge them truly, and see something in them that other people don't, is what typically leads them to Jesus a little bit better. At our height, we typically have a little less than 300 occupying camp. So it's up to 300 people that can be housed in camp. So that would typically mean around 200 to 250 kids that we could have, plus the staff that will be sleeping in. We have cabins, but we also have covered wagons and teepees. And we have these things they call minor shacks, which are tents with wooden sides. And kind of to coincide with 6th grade camp, we have a 4th and 5th grade program called Gold Rush Days. It's kind of a historical reenactment kind of thing. That's why I would wear cowboy outfits and sing songs that way. It's because, you know, it's kind of a living reenactment that way, which is a lot of fun. But from that operation, we have 12 full-time staff right now, so we're all consistently busy. We have 2, sometimes 3, that are maintenance staff. Our chef, when he's not on it for like summer or some of the weekend seasons, he's doing maintenance typically in the fall. And so we'll typically have 3 full-time people working maintenance, a 4th for our groundskeeping, who probably needs someone else. So 12 running it. It's a very lean operation. And so, like, for me, my job description is, again, to support and build programs for the camp itself. This will be anything from summer camp and 6th grade camps to what we do on the weekends if somebody wants an actual event-driven camp. We have our Gold Rush Days is another one. So all of those need development. They need further retooling. But I also have a background in graphic design, and so all of those elements can then go into me building what they would need to create the marketing and the structures to get that out, as well as books that the kids would need during that time. In the past as well, San Diego's a refugee resettlement section, and so we had a lot of Somali that were coming in at that point.
think it was 2010 and 2011. So we ran Easter camps as main outreach camps to a lot of usually Muslim groups. And they would bring their kids out for day camp. So we would run a week of day camp. So they come out one day, we'd have some fun, crazy activities. The next day, we'd have a gospel message. And we were very transparent about it. And parents understood. And they still saw the value, even though like 90% of them were Muslim. There's a chance to reach out again in ministries that we can't go to Somalia, we can't go to Saudi Arabia, we can't go to all of these different countries. So God's bringing them here, and we can reach them here. So our prayer for this year is a desire to create a plan that the Lord will lead us to becoming financially viable, so that we can be self-sufficient.